from the Utah Jazz, 6'5", Adrian Dantley.
At 6'5", he could post up a 7-footer without any problem and take him to the hole and get results.
There was no way you could say I'm just going to stop him from scoring. It wasn't going to happen.
To most of the older generation, the 80s is argued to be the greatest era in basketball history and has graced us with some of the most talented offensive threats who were some of the best pure isolation scorers ever. Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Bernard King, Alice English, George Gervin, Dominique Wilkins. You get the point, as they have blessed us with their God-given gifts each game. As legendary as those names are, and how synonymous they are with the decade in NBA history, there's another offensive talent from that time who is missing. A player who is just as lethal as those guys, as in a 1v1 matchup, he could hold his own and duel them bucket for bucket, point for point on a nightly basis. A player who, both in good and bad ways, was ahead of his time with his play style and controlled pace. It has carved himself into having an argument to be one of the greatest pure scorers ever in league history. Meet Adrian Dantley, also known as Adrian Dantley, the talented, skilled, yet underrated and underappreciated dangerous scorer of the 1980s. The original AD. At 6'5", 208 pounds, Dantley dominated his opponents in isolation situations, as whenever in the triple threat position, he had them at his mercy. His playstyle was ahead of its time, as prior to this season's rule change, there was an influx of talented, skilled offensive stars who had a reputation of using their skillful abilities to show off their craftiness and use it to their advantage by drawing fouls and getting to the free throw line, such as James Harden, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Trae Young, Luka Doncic. Well, Dantley was doing that back in the day, building up a mixed reputation about it. With his game, Dantley did most of his damage in the mid-range and down in the low block, as with his soft shooting touch, nice ball control, and the ability to score around the basket, it was second nature for him to just take his opponents in the post and go to work, putting them in foul trouble as he could bait them into making contact to get himself to the line. This ability awarded him the nickname, the Teacher, as if you reach, he was going to make you pay and teach you a valuable lesson of ISO 101. You can't freaking guard him. Drafted by the Buffalo Braves, now the Los Angeles Clippers, with the 6th pick in the 76th draft, he immediately burst onto the scene as one of the league's best scorers, as after averaging 20 and 8 rebounds on 52% field goal, he was awarded the 77 Rookie of the Year. Despite this individual success, he will be traded to the Pacers after his rookie season, and in 23 games for the team, he will continue to display his scoring talents, averaging nearly 27 a game before being traded to the Lakers for the rest of the season, where he would finish with 20 a game. In 79, despite suffering through an injury, he would still put up a solid 17 points per game, still giving flashes as one of the top scorers. After the season, he would be traded to the Utah Jazz, a place where he would have his best individual seasons and solidify himself as one of the most talented and greatest scorers to ever grace the hardwood. Becoming the Jazz's best player and number one option, he would establish himself as a superstar and as one of the best prolific bucket getters in the game, making it look effortless. For 7 seasons with the team from 79 to 86, AD would average nearly 30 points a game. As in 4 consecutive seasons from 81 to 84, he would put up between 30 to 31 points per game, leading the league twice for scoring in both 81 and 84. So, I gave you all the stats. I explained to you how talented and skilled he was as a player. I went in depth of how legendary of a scorer he is, being one of the greatest purists ever when it comes to the class of Buckets 101. But yet we ask ourselves, why was he left off the list? I have 3 legit reasons to why. 1, he's overshadowed by the greatness of the legendary talents who played against him during that time, as some of the greatest ever, and had a lot of success and more recognition in the decade. 2, teams did not have much success with him as their main guy for the franchise cornerstone, given the label that he could not lead a team to a championship as their best player. Despite being known as a quiet, reserved type of person off the court, on the court he was controversial, as he was viewed as selfish, arrogant, and always put himself ahead of the team. being viewed as a chemistry destroyer. Despite individual success, the Jazz only made it to the postseason twice out of the 7 seasons with AD as their main guy, getting eliminated in the second round both times. But in '86, after problems with Jazz head coach Frank Layden and the franchise focused on building around a young Karl Malone and John Stockton as their cornerstone, he was sent to the Pistons, where he had his best opportunities for success, teaming up with all-time point guard Isaiah Thomas and the legendary Bad Boys. Despite leading the team in scoring and gaining major success as they went to 2 conference finals and made it to the '88 finals during his time on the Pistons, he was not the best player nor the go-to guy anymore. He would constantly scuffle with Isaiah and legendary head coach Chuck Daly and GM Jack McCluskey due to losing playing time. It would eventually lead to him being traded to the Mavs for another great talent during that time in Mark Aguirre, and the Pistons would go on to win the '89 championship. Despite all of this, Dantley should not be disrespected. He made his mark and left his imprint in the league's history. He solidified himself as one of the deadliest isolation players ever, one of the greatest scoring purists ever in basketball history, as he's one of the most efficient bucket getters ever, averaging 56% in his prime and 54% for his career. He is one of the most skilled talents in not just the 80s, but in NBA history. In his prime, he finished top 10 in field goals, total points, and free throws for multiple seasons, leading the league in free throws 5 times, total points twice, and field goals in '81. He is the 3rd best all-time scorer in the 1980s, top 30 all-time in career points with 23K, top 20 of career all-time scoring average with 24.3. He is a 6-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, Rookie of the Year, and now a defunct award, the 1984 Comeback Player of the Year. And again, for emphasis, one of the greatest and talented scorers ever who was somewhat ahead of his time. With all of this, does he have a case to be on the list?